Hi, Achim here, InnerSpace Explorers. Today I want to start a new series which is diving the whatever rebreather, and I will start with a Dräger LAR, which is a military oxygen rebreather, and over the next couple of weeks I will show you more different units. So from a little introduction, the full assembly, and then actually going in the water with it. And today we want to start with the LAR. So I also have a LAR7 here, which I think I talked about in another video, which is unfortunately not mine, so it belongs to a friend of mine, but he said, yeah, fine, take it, test it, dive it, make a video. And then I also have a PSCR here, a Hyperion, I have the classic KISS, I get a KISS Sports soon, so that's something that I was looking for a long time, not because it's the greatest rebreather in the world, but for me it's more like a it has more historic value, but I will definitely introduce you to that and actually show it to you in the water and in detail when I assemble and disassemble. And there's a few other units, so there's a couple of oxygen rebreathers that I built over the years that I will probably show you. The Dräger LAR, which you probably know because I converted it into an oxygen rebreather, but I did nothing to it which cannot be reversed, so I will show you how that worked as an example for the SDR rebreather, so in its original form, and so on. So there's quite a few units, and so like a lot of these car testers do, if you are somewhere in the area, so we could meet, and you have a rebreather that you think would be fun to be introduced in this series, let me know, contact me. So it doesn't necessarily have to be me diving it, but we could meet, we could talk about the rebreather, we could show how to assemble it, and then you could dive it and I could film. So that would be a lot of fun, and if you're interested in that, that would be awesome. Let me know. Otherwise, I think I have a few flying around, so I could keep this going for a while. And now let's have a look at the LAR5. All right, so here it is, or at least the shell. So let's talk a little bit about the components. So the shell itself, I assume, is fiberglass. When you look inside, actually you can see that it was made with resin, and you can actually see the structure of the fiberglass a little bit. Then you have the manual addition valve, which is here in front with the SPG. So here you have the SPG, and here you have the add valve. You can actually see that little pin here, and you can see that work, so that triggers the mechanism. So you have these hard lines going here for the gas going to the first stage, and so here's the diaphragm, and here is the connector to the O2 bottle, which then sits here and is held by this strap here, and then there is a big strap that actually holds down the lime canister. Then you have the waist belt, and you have a belt that goes around your neck, and that's how you wear the unit. So that's part number one. Part number two is the lime canister. This is also made from fiberglass. Actually here it's very visible. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but I guess so. You have the two connectors. There's a sleeve down there. There's another one here which is spring loaded. And so basically when you fill it, which you will see in a second, then you press this one down. There's a fill line here on the side, and you press this down, and then this is the screw where you screw it down, and then it gives a nice compact lime canister that then goes into the housing. I'll put that aside. And then you have, at least in my opinion, the most expensive and hard to get part, so that's something that you should really take care about. That's the counterlung, and I know people that search for these counterlungs for years and they can't find one. So if this breaks, you are in deep trouble. And so you have the connectors here. This one is the most fragile one. That's rubber that basically can be like pressed in here, should basically sit like that, and you pull it out to connect it. So you can see that white stuff here is talcum powder, because that's normally where these lungs break. And then you have the other connectors, and I will show you how this is all assembled in a minute. So there you can see actually Dräger, and this is basically to hold it down so it doesn't start to flip up in the unit. So last thing is the breathing loop, which I showed you a minute ago when I changed that valve. And that means that's all the components that are to the rebreather. So very, very, very simple. And I'll just go and grab some lime now and a bottle, and then I'll show you how to assemble it. All right, so we are outside now because I don't want that dust in the house, and we will fill the canister now, and then we will go back inside and assemble the whole rebreather. I just wanted to show you how to fill this thing. So this is the canister, and so I usually let it go in a little bit from top, so you can see all that dust that is basically carried away by the little breeze that we have. And so I'll tap that a little bit so the lime settles. Okay. So that's okay. So the interesting thing here is that there's no O-ring or anything, but it's this rubber lid that is basically sealing. So I put that on top here, press it down a little bit so the thread can start to work. Then I just make sure there's nothing in between here and that rubber lid is clean, and I can screw this down, check it another time so it's not like outside. And then, I mean, what you can do with your thumb and your index finger is enough. It's not like squeeze this like crazy, and you can see that this is sealing here and all is good. Alright, so let's put it in the unit and continue. Okay, so this one goes out here, then you have this one here, actually holds on this side, and then this goes in like this, okay? Just so you see how that works. And what I want to do is I just want to show you how this sits, because what we do before we finally assemble it is we attach the counterlung, but then you don't see how it really fits in. So I'm trying to make this as visible as possible, so to speak. So this is the counterlung, and the counterlung goes in like that. So this one here goes to the ADV, and this one goes here in the counterlung, in the lime canister. So that's the first thing. So you can see this is like a bayonet. There's an O-ring here, so obviously we make sure this O-ring is fine, and then you press this in here and you rotate it 90 degrees. And now you probably see what I wanted to tell you when I said it's hard to see that when the loop is attached, when the counterlung is attached. So now this is in here, and now I can actually go down here and connect the one that goes on the ADV. Okay, so this is connected as well. Now, let's see if you see this better. Now I close this belt so the lime canister is secure. And now you also see how that, how the counterlung sits in here and then against your chest, which makes super comfortable breathing. So the next thing is the loop. Loop goes on like that, and so the first one is this one. Again, check the O-rings, check everything's nice and clean. And then this one, you squeeze the hose a little bit, put it through here, and connect this one. So, connect this one to the lime canister. So this one you try to squeeze in here a little bit, squeeze the hose, get it through the hole here, and we are basically ready assembled. And then this one I use with the tank to make sure the counterlung stays down. So we have our bottle here, which is, if I remember correct, a 1.5 liter steel tank. And we'll see if maybe I'm gonna turn it around like that. So this goes through this loop here and then gets positioned with the valve to that hand wheel. Tighten down. And then, oops. This holds my tank in place, and now the unit is basically ready. So what we do next is a vacuum test. I'll just release those hoses a little bit. Okay, you saw me sucking vacuum on this thing, and you can actually see on all the wrinkles and everything that this counterlung is vacuumized. So now we wait a while and watch this carefully if there's anything that changes. So if this would have a vacuum leak, you could actually see these sharp edges here. We actually also can see the springs that are inside the counterlung against the material, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And when I open it up, you should hear this hissing sound. Yeah. So the next thing we do is we do an overpressure test. Okay, so I blew this up completely. So some say you should put like a 2 kilo weight or anything on top, which I normally don't do, to be honest. I'm generally not the biggest fan of this overpressure test because I actually think it puts unnecessary stress on the counterlungs. But the manual basically says you should do that. It basically says that on most rebreathers. But if you don't have a leak on the vacuum test, then you most probably don't have one with the overpressure. Depends a little bit on the counterlung. If it's a very shrinky or uneven counterlung, actually on the vacuum test you could block a potential leak with material. So I've seen that before. But generally speaking, very unlikely. So normally I use the overpressure test in case I have a leak on the vacuum to find the leak. But this is definitely okay. So I open it up again. Then of course close it again so I don't forget or I don't run around with an open DSV. So now I basically check my oxygen, which seems to be not 100% sealing. And I have 120 bars. So for what I want to do, that's by far enough. And that means that I'm going to change now and take you guys for a dive, actually in the river. So we'll see how the underwater footage comes out if I have to go somewhere else. But I want to go for this dive anyway, so join me. Hi, so we're back from the dive. As you probably noticed, the underwater footage is not from the river. I had a different suit, so when I went in the river the visibility was like, you can't read your instruments, so we had to wait a couple of days. And today I was at Lake Starnberg. Visibility was so la, but at least, I mean, the camera could see me and you get a little bit of an idea what it looks like when this thing is in the water. So it has almost 3 hours on it now, and I thought it's probably a good idea to show you also how to disassemble and clean it, and also when you disassemble the rebreather after the dive, there's a couple of things that obviously indicate if things went good or bad, or if there is some issue, and that's the reason I want to show you. So generally speaking, I am a big fan of these plastic boxes. I think they have a name, if somebody knows what they are called, because they're available in different colors and sizes, and they have this way of closing. Hard to get, but they're great for the rebreather because they have a couple of holes so water can drain out, air can circulate, and there's no mice or anything that can go to the rebreather if it's in storage. So actually pretty nice. So let's take it out, and I'll just put the box away, and here we have it. So I started with 180 bars, and so after 3 hours it's actually between 90 and 100, so I used roughly 90 bars in almost 3 hours of diving, which is good. I always do a quick inspection. I mean, there was nothing on the dive that indicated that there was something wrong, which is good. So the first thing we do is obviously we let all the pressure out, we take the tank off, so disconnect the hand wheel, release the strap, and then take it out. We've been in fresh water, though it's not like we have to rinse this extensively. Give it a quick rinse anyway. And put it away. So next thing is, in this particular case, the loop and the counterlung. So there's no visible damage or wear or anything on the counterlung, which is great. That's how it should be. And so the first thing I do is I take out the connection on the bottom. Which is always, I don't know for which hands they designed this thing. I always struggle a little bit. So squeeze the hose, take it out here, and then I can disconnect the hose from the counterlung, and then we can actually remove this clip, and we can take this hose out, and now we can take the entire setup out of the shell. So here's the shell, and here is basically the vital components of this rebreather. So this one is a bayonet hose. Take this one off, and the same as this one, 90 degree. Take it off, and then I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but there's a chamber here, and here it actually goes in the or comes out. That's the outlet, and in this chamber there's always water. You will see. And this is normal. So the first time I dove it, I was like, damn, this is not good, but that's a normal thing. So the first thing we want to check is we want to have a look at the sorb, because that indicates if, first of all, we had proper absorption, and then if there was water coming in, because then the soap would be really wet. So a little bit damp is normal, a little bit of coloration is also good. So with our 3 hours of use, actually a little bit less, there should be not much going on in here, and it should be in pretty decent shape. So as you can see, there's a few of these sweat. There's no real water or anything. You can see this is bone dry here. This is a little bit more wet, but that's because it's like this when I'm diving. So obviously moisture collects more in this area here. You can see a little bit of discoloration here. I mean, like beginning, if this is like saturated, it would be like dark blue, purplish. And so I just grab a bin where I can pour this in, so you see a little bit better what that looks like. So actually this is out of the water now for probably 3.5 hours, and you can still feel that it's warmer than the surrounding air. So now I'm pouring. And yeah, it's damp, but it's not like soaking wet. I mean, there's no water also coming out. And so this is completely within the limits. Yeah, it's still, and actually when the cameraman can test that, you can feel that's still warmer than the surrounding air, right? So yeah, that's all good. You can feel actually that this is like a little bit slimy, which is from the salvia, so nothing to worry about. And what we do now is we obviously rinse this one out. So all the lime is gone, that's good. Let it air dry. Now the counterlung looks great. So we fill this with water. So flush all of it out, shake it a little bit, and then we can hang it up somewhere and let it dry. Looks perfect. So not overnight, should hang somewhere not in the sun, but in a well ventilated area. So outside for a couple of hours is great, and then overnight you obviously take it in. And so this is the mouthpiece, and so we flush these hoses as well. So this is against the flow. Great. So if we go from this side, actually water will come out from the hose and the mouthpiece, and everything that's inside there will be flushed out. course, if you're in doubt, you can take it apart further. I basically just do this for the video. I normally wouldn't after a normal dive. So hang it up as well, and then so here you see the mushroom valve opens in this direction, so obviously we clean it out like that. Das hört man ziemlich auf dem Video, ne? Same here. So, give this one a little bit. Of a rinse. Make sure you're not going inside of the first stage. That's why I was coming from the top side. And we're done. So, I hope you enjoyed this little excursion on the Dräger LAR 5. If you like that and if you want to see more of these rebreathers, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you have any rebreathers that you want to see on this channel, let me know. And take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.